Um, you guys know him. I'm sure you've seen the videos all over Facebook because it gets pushed all the time. Is that Adam Ruins Everything guy? Adam Ruins Everything is basically a lefty who sits there and he makes these wacky videos on everything you believe is wrong. And again, just to point out, if you do watch Adam Ruins Everything videos, you find out that his sources are always Vox, the SPLC, Slate. Like, he's very, very right-wing. So he was on Rogan show, and they were talking about trans children hormone debate. So, the fucking giving hormones to kids.
Trans athletes go, we could sit here and talk for 3 hours about like all the different ways that hormones might affect your body and might not affect your body. And I'm not an expert on that, and I don't want to claim to be, right? But a sports with trans athletes who are competing with with their gender, right? That is a sporting world that I'm more interested in, right? And I think we should find a way to make that happen. I know it's going to be really complicated and messy, right? And there's going to be a lot of debate about it, and it's going to be uncomfortable, and there's going to be a lot of arguments. But I hope that that's the world that we move forward to. That's my point of view.
He's such a faggot, by the way. Something else you need to point out about Adam: he's not a smart man. He's not.
No.
He has writers that put all this stuff together for him. People think that, okay, he's so smart. He knows all. He doesn't know anything, okay? He's basically, the best way to describe him is he's one of these lefty New York alt comedians.
Yeah. Yeah, and not even really a comedian. It was probably like a funny blogger.
Funny blogger. Yeah, there you go. Like a Perez Hilton type.
My point of view is that there's a reason, there's a distinction. There's a reason why we make the distinction to have male athletics versus female athletics. The reason is that males have a physiological advantage over women. So in most sports, most physical sports, we do not have males compete with females. The question becomes when someone who is male transitions and becomes female, do those same physiological advantages apply? And what is the evidence? Well, the evidence in competition seems to be that it shows that it does apply, particularly in weightlifting, rugby, mountain biking, power heavy sports that favor larger people, stronger bodies. Males that transition to females have a significant advantage in their breaking world records. So if you're a woman and you're a natural woman and you don't take any extra hormones or male hormones, you're not taking steroids or any sort of performance-enhancing drugs, you're doing your very best to compete and you're at the top of the heap. But then someone comes along that was a man for 30 years and decides that they're going to be a woman, and this has happened, and literally transitioned a few months ago, and competes as a woman and destroys records and dominates you.
Yeah, it's been happening more and more. We've talked. There used to be outliers even when the show first started, but there was a track team, a high school track team where there was just two black dudes turned into girls all of a sudden, and they were destroying everybody. The guy who broke all the powerlifting records was just a dude breaking powerlifting records.
And there was that
the MMA fighter,
Fallon Fox,
that broke the orbital bone.
It was brutal.
Yeah, it was brutal. Like, no, you're not allowed. You're not allowed. You're not allowed.
Biologically a male, and who is a male for 30 plus years of having testosterone run through their body and affect their tendon strength and affect the shape of their bones and the mechanical advantages of the male hips versus the female hips, and then they're competing with smaller people who have been a woman their whole life. It's not fair. It's as much cheating as taking steroids when the other person doesn't, or taking performance-enhancing drugs when the other person doesn't. Maybe even more.
But
there you go.
Exactly.
There you go, Joe. I was gonna say,
I think more.
it's way worse.
More. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because guess what? A lot of them are on. They are on roids.
They are
doing
they're
to
taking
get turning them
HRT. They're
and you
taking
think they're not going to overdo it?
Yeah. If you're a female becoming a man, you're taking testosterone.
Maybe even more so because you also have. There's a bunch of advantages in terms of reaction time that males enjoy. It's some significant difference in reaction time between males and even untrained males versus female professional athletes.
Well, I disagree, and
what do you disagree about?
I love. This is the perfect example of a leftist that's
Yeah.
like, well, I disagree.
You,
Like,
but what do you
but
disagree?
what, though?
I
I just pointed out
cited
things.
things. Yeah.
and now what's your argument?
Yeah, I disagree. And then notice
No.
something. There's
My argument is no.
there's a running theme with this little interview. The interview is him saying, "Well, I'm not an expert. Well, I'm not an." He says that a lot. Watch.
I've already my main point being the one that I already made, right? That like I don't think that there is such a thing as a perfectly level playing field. I think we decide what kind of playing field we want to have.
Sure, but we do make the distinction where we don't allow men to compete in women's divisions.
And I think that distinction may be breaking down a bit, right? And I think it may be time to break down that distinction a little bit.
So you think that males...
Let me point something out. I want to point something out. A guy.
You know who else hates this? Feminists.
Yeah. Adam, a guy who's never played a sport a day in his life, who's never played a sport or done any athletic activity.
He doesn't look like a guy who even played like casually a sport.
I played football in college 1 year. I played baseball when I was in middle school and stuff. This guy's never, ever played a sport.
Yeah, I played Little League.
Yeah.
I played fucking JV football one year. Like, it wasn't good. But,
and I wasn't good
but
either.
I played,
That's why I didn't.
But
yeah.
you still learn a fucking lesson from it and experience. And you can kind of go, wow, yeah, I've been hit hard. And I know that.
His Joe Rogan, look, man, again, we always criticize, but in this particular this argument, to be fair, Joe Rogan is bringing up, no, here's actually what happens. Here's what happens when you take this, when you take that, and it affects this and affects that. I don't agree.
I was going to say, well, I disagree.
Well, that's not how it works, Adam.
And I think it should be different.
Right, and I think it may be time to break down that distinction a little bit.
So you think that males should be able to compete in the women's division of weightlifting?
No, I don't necessarily.
But they can if they transition.
Well, first of all,
he's that's it. Windows XP shut
Can
down.
we all agree?
Yeah.
Rogan's not exactly fucking Ben Shapiro.
No, but compared to this guy,
What I'm saying is, like, if Joe Rogan is frying your fucking sensors,
yeah, he's crushing
you are
him.
not. You're not Mr. Super Debate. It's not like you could either easily have had Jordan Peterson there. You could have had Ben Shapiro there. But no, you have Joe Rogan completely shorting your system out.
Neon Fire Squaw says his mom got dodgeball canceled. That's exactly who Adam is. The one.
Not
who goes,
my son.
No.
But yeah, and you notice to Joe too. Like Joe isn't even like getting riled up
No,
or anything.
he's
He's
very
just like,
chill.
no, man, it's just that's terrible. And you're like, well, I'm not. What I'm.
He's losing it.
Joe Rogan right now is being the cop that comes in with just a cup of coffee, and it's just like, oh man, so tell me about it. What happened?
Turns the
And
light
you're
on.
like, all right, look, man, the fuck, she just kept nagging me and nagging me and nagging me, and I just started stabbing and I started stabbing, and Joe's like, all right, cool, man. You didn't even sip your coffee or anything, but you're under arrest.
You know what?
I didn't
This is a
even do
good
anything.
point. When it comes, Rogan might not be the smartest guy with everything, but AJ's got a good point. Joe knows about this. He cares about it because of MMA, and that's a good point. Like this is something that he actually does know about.
It is true. It's one of his go-to debates that he's done many times.
Yeah,
It
he
kinda
can
knows
easily,
around
yeah.
it. But even that, it's like he's still not like
He's not going that hard on him.
Yeah, he's just going like, well, I'm just saying, like reaction times, their hips are built differently. Well, stupid. Did I disagree?
That's not an answer.
And Joe's just, you can tell he's a little extra high in this one.
Yeah.
He's just like, man, what are you talking about? It's crazy. Don't do that.
There's a lot of stuff to break down, right? And I'm not an expert on the subject, right? So it's just sort of off the top of my head. One thing is, you're postulating a particular person who decided to transition at the age of 30, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were very big and strong before, right? And they decided.
But no. He's not postulating it. That has happened. The bodybuilder, power lifter.
So far, the only trans athletes have been ones that are like, oh, I could cheat so easily.
Yeah.
I'll fucking go murder these bros.
What are you talking about?
The transition. Now, that is a type of person that exists, right? I think over the next certainly 30 years, we're going to see, now that people are starting to understand that being trans is just a way that people are, right? They're just people who are trans, and this is something that we're going to accept and support.
Hey, Adam, I have something to tell you, buddy. If you think we're gonna spend the next 30 years giving less than 3% of the population this much ground to keep fucking our systems and our institutions up. I think you got another thing coming, pal, because everything's cyclical, and I have a very big feeling that this is all going to get shut down at some point.
Adam is somebody, and everybody knows somebody like this, who thinks the entire country is Brooklyn. Because these people live in these echo chambers. They live in these. If you live in Brooklyn, you live in Chelsea, you live in these places. All you're hearing all the time is, "You're right, trans athletes." And
yeah, I don't know why I said 3%. Sorry, Mr. Arrow. But yeah, it's less than 0.5%.
Less than
but,
0.5%.
yeah, but it's like you think we're gonna keep shutting down every goddamn town hall meeting and every meeting of the athletic commission in every state of the world every day for the next 30 years over these people. I think you have another thing coming. I think something's going to come to a head, and people are going to go, look, we don't give a fuck. Be trans. But enough of this nonsense.
Yeah, stop.
Enough.
Support, right? You're seeing folks transition much earlier age, you know.
But then
and so if someone is
Let me tell you something.
Joe almost never interrupts.
No. But look at Joe's face. You never see Joe do this face. I've never seen him be this. Watch. This is Joe at his most upset.
much earlier age, you know.
but then
and so if someone is,
did you see that's Joe hiding? And again, we fucking criticize Joe a lot. But that's Joe hiding disgust. Did you see him? He was holding the disgust in.
if someone is, you know, transitioning from the age of, like, you know,
and
7 years
old. I
old.
think a bit of empathy too. I think
Yeah.
he's just feeling empathy.
Like, this guy's a stupid man.
Because when I think of that too, I'm like, oh, those fucking kids, man. Like you're doing this. People like you were doing it, Adam.
Right. And, you know, working with those hormones, you know, from that age, right? They're not going to have, you know, their body situation is going to be very different than the one that you postulated, right?
You know who Adam reminds me of and even looks like, and this is just for you and maybe 2 people listening, Nathan.
I also know.
Oh, and by the way, you shouldn't be using postulated like more than once in a conversation because then you sound like a guy with a limited vocabulary.
That's correct.
From my trans friends that the effects that the hormones have on your body are like really profound, you know, like really, really profound. Like we're not to a surprising degree, right? And so, you know, if the question is how does a person who starts taking hormones at a particular age, right? How does their body change, and how does that affect vis-a-vis athletic performance? I don't know. We're in such new territory here,
yeah,
right?
Well, we certainly are, and we just scratched upon the idea of kids transitioning at a very early age. I mean, there's been more scientific evidence that points that if kids don't do that, then when they wanted to be trans at an early age, they just become gay men, and that there's nothing wrong with that either. There's no reason to give kids hormones, and there's no reason to decide before a person's frontal lobe is completely fully developed, which doesn't even take place till like 25. People don't know who they are. A 7-year-old, you won't even. People don't even give their 7-year-old phones. You don't let them vote. You're going to let them decide what sex they're going to be for the rest of their life.
The research that I've seen, and again, I'm not an expert on this, and
This is a theme.
Well, here's the thing.
I wish someone would cut up the "I'm not an expert." How many times he says it?
For a guy who's not an expert, you sure like to sound like one, and you sure like to tell everybody how it needs to go.
You have a show telling people why they're wrong. And
you know, I'd love to. This is a conversation. This is something I'd love to talk about on our show, and I'd specifically love. You know, this is the kind of topic where I really want to make sure that I know the research and that I'm, you know, also speaking to trans folks, you know, in this conversation. But so to touch on just what I've, you know, my own experience and what I've.
Well, okay. Are you going to speak to people that have trans regret? Or are you just going to speak to the ones? See, that's the thing. They built these straw man arguments out of like, well, my trans friends. Okay, but are you going to talk to the people that regret it? Because there's a lot of people that regret it. But no, they only talk to boost their argument.
The research I've seen is that trans kids from a young age, they are incredibly consistent in when they're expressing their gender identity.
What research is this?
That's a big generalization. You're talking about a lot of human beings.
Yeah, but
that's fits this narrative by saying they're incredibly consistent. But like, if you polled these people, like, what are you talking about? Like, if you,
I mean, that's I don't have the research in front of me that I saw.
You don't have. You know why you don't have the research in front of you? Because there's literally no research. A Vox article isn't research. Something on Pink News isn't research, Adam. I've
guy is
always hated
hateable.
this guy. I've hated this guy since
Oh
he
yeah, no,
started.
I've always hated him. It's
so I can't like go into the details
Mm-hmm.
on it, but like, yeah, it was research that was surveying and tracking like trans kids who declared their identity from a young age. Did it change? The answer was generally no, it really didn't. I have a friend who has a trans kid. Don't know the kid's exact age, but we're in the age range that we're talking about, and
You have a friend with a trans kid in the age range you're talking about. You and your friend should be removed from society, and the child should, luckily, hopefully young enough, be put in a good home. Because everything is, I have a friend. The left's sources, these fucking loony people's sources, is always their friends or their buddies or a cousin or when the abortion debate, the girl that got raped. It's always that. It's always that.
this guy's just raw propaganda. That's all it is.
Yeah, of course.
he's explained that like, well, my child from a very young age consistently like said, I am a girl, like, and has never contradicted themselves, never changed their mind. And so the humane thing,
They have said consistently that they are a girl because these lefties don't understand cause and effect. Their parents have probably been nailing into them since they could talk. Even before they could talk, you don't have to be a boy or a girl. You can pick. You can pick. So the kid thinks it's a game. And they'll pick girl and they stick with girl. Shut the fuck up.
and the thing that he felt was good to do as a parent was to like embrace that choice on his child's part, right? And yeah, that's
Embrace that choice, meaning hormonally.
I shouldn't even
affect
phrase it
their
as a choice,
development.
like embrace that identity.
But it is a choice, right? I mean, if
I
you're
don't know.
choosing to add hormones to a child's body, that's a choice.
It's
Or
a
hormone
choice on the
blockers.
it's a choice on the part of the parent. It's not a choice on the part of the child.
Okay, so what you're saying is that the parent has a choice to give hormones, but the kid has no choice. This doesn't make any sense. Their whole argument falls apart. It's so wonky. These people have SJW themselves into such a corner that they don't know how to get out of it.
To like
It's
in the same
not-
way that being gay isn't a choice. Yeah.
Okay, but if that's who they are, if they think that they're a girl, why do you have to give them hormones to make them more of a girl?
It's a goddamn good question. Well, I'm not an expert.
Because
He
I'm
should-
sorry. Can you expand? on that?
Yeah, because I'm still thinking. You repeat it a couple times.
Yeah.
He might as well throw a fucking smoke bomb down and just run.
Yeah, at this point, he's never going to go back on this show again. I guarantee you. Joe made him look like a fool.
It's a simple question. If you say that the child thinks it's a girl, so you're going to give the child hormones. Mm-hmm. If the child thinks it's a girl, let it be a girl. Like, you don't have. Why are you adding hormones? If you're shooting hormones into a child and you're
Yeah.
affecting the child's development, you're saying that's not a choice. That's nonsense. Of course it's a choice. You're choosing to chemically change this child's body. You're choosing to inject
Yeah.
things into this child's body on a regular basis that are going to radically affect the physical development of their body.
Yeah.
And you're saying that this isn't a choice. Well, it's definitely a choice to do that.
So
KKK says transgender athletes are great. Once again, men have proven they are better than at women at everything. So they even make better women. Yes, thank you, KKK.
what trans
$5.
people express, and again, I'm not an expert. This is from me talking to my trans friends and seeing what other trans folks say.
I hate this man.
Everything, but I'm so. You know what?
I hate this man. I hate this man. I hate this man. I hate this man.
I am so glad that this happened though, because so many people have been loving this guy and saying how great he is and how awesome he is, and he's just breaking stuff down, man. He just deals in facts, and you realize he has no facts. He's not a smart man. He's a dumb man. I have no research. What research? What's his schooling? Does he have a degree in anything?
You see my trans friends.
Yeah, but that's not having a degree. Having somebody who mutilated their genitals is not allowed to be a reference point in a research paper. You can't do that. It's never been a research paper that started with, and Dr. Smith has a friend who mutilated his genitals, so that'll be the control source. That's not how it works.